Welcome to Jukebox Zeros. I'm Lee.
I'm Patrick.
And hey, we're here. We're in the smell cave. We're back in Marlboro. I just noticed there's a spider on your ceiling.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised. There's a lot of life forms in here right now.
Yeah, you can't see it, but we're surrounded by flowers. That's not even a joke.
Yeah, so this is my wife's side business. She does floral arrangements for weddings, and this room is slowly getting taken over. I mean, it smells great.
I expected to do Jukebox Zeros, not the Poison Ivy podcast.
I mean, only a little bit of that is poison ivy, okay? Some of it is poison eucalyptus.
Thought my co-host was Patrick, not Bushroot from Darkwing Duck.
Good God, that's a deep cut.
So anyway, we're in the smell cave in Marlboro. When I was coming in, the hall music playing over the loudspeakers in the hallway, I couldn't tell whether it was Chicago or REO Speedwagon.
Oh, it's Chicago. So they only play about like 3 different artists.
Right. You mentioned that the last episode.
Chicago, Whitney Houston, or Celine Dion.
So now I'm just kind of making a point to keep track of that every time I come into your building, right before I head upstairs in the elevator. And it probably was Chicago, but honestly, like, the line of demarcation between Chicago and REO Speedwagon is just so thin.
Oh yeah,
it could have been either.
That middle of the road arena rock shit is so it's so homogenous.
Rock and roll for your dad.
Yeah,
rock and roll dad.
Sorry.
Speaking of being sorry, what do you say we get to the apology section?
Yeah, good segue.
Apologies. Anyway.
Oh, okay.
I don't have anything to apologize for. Have you got something to apologize for, Pat? Maybe something related to Smash Mouth?
So, okay. Full disclosure, I apologize for insinuating that Walking on the Sun was a cover. Credit where credit's due. The fine songsmiths in Smash Mouth actually composed that masterpiece.
I think it might have just been the one guy.
Yeah. Either way.
On Wikipedia, the songwriting credit is just for Mike Camp, their guitarist, who I don't think is even in the band anymore, but they still play his songs.
No, but apparently our good friend Christopher Brown sold a guitar pedal to him.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
Not fun at all, actually.
Okay, so it's a mundane fact.
That's more like it, thank you.
It's certainly a fact of sorts. But yeah, in any case, that was one of the most embarrassing moments of our entire podcast, to be sure.
Yeah, oh my God, that was a low point.
It brought Smashgate back up entirely.
Yeah, this might have to be my apology for the next few episodes. I am going to be riding that.
I'm not sure how you're going to be able to live this down, Pat.
I don't know either. I'm a man of facts. I don't want to spread lies. I just want to spread the truth.
The truth?
Yeah. And
how do you spell that?
The whole truth and nothing but the truth. It's TR, the letter that looks like a little smiley face, but without the dots.
A C?
Yeah,
you turn it on the side?
Yeah, I think so. And then P, and then the one that looks like a little chair. We have fun on this podcast, even if the listeners don't.
I have a question, Pat.
Okay, I have an answer.
Could there be a possibility there's something wrong with our brains?
A possibility or a very high probability.
Ah, well, that's an answer for another episode. Instead, we got a guest to introduce, right?
We sure do. Okay, am I introducing?
I did it last time.
All right, well, fantastic.
I thought we had a system of rules in place.
Well, I'm just tickled pink to introduce this guy. He's the brain behind Downcity Armory, and also of he's the lead singer of Desk, of which I played rhythm guitar for, and also the his podcast my unfortunate brain, unfortunately, I'm very happy to introduce Mr. Todd Bowes.
Hey guys,
What's happening?
That's Todd Bowes, who is totally in the room with us.
I'm in the virtual smell cave
Yeah.
today.
Hey, everybody's got one.
Yeah, you dressed to the nines for the virtual smell cave.
Yeah.
Which you also can't see, but we're also all dressed in very fancily tonight.
Yeah.
Pat didn't turn the camera back on.
Oh, shit, you're right. Okay, hold on. Hey, buddy. Are we back? Oh, there we are. Hey.
Oh, there it is. All right, there we go.
All right, very good. We're coming at you live.
We've got picture for what it's worth, so everyone can see the fancy two-tailed coat that Pat's wearing.
Oh, it's absolutely it's just as nerdy as I thought
I've got
it'd
a jaunty
be.
top hat, and Todd's wearing spats.
Spanx?
No, spat.
Spats.
I didn't know Spanx made spats.
Spats, like Scrooge McDuck.
You know, fucking Scrooge McDuck. Like Darkwing Duck, except not.
Except
They
Scroogey.
they had a thing for ducks for a while, didn't they? Making all sorts of tunes about ducks.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
You got that remake that's apparently doing quite well.
Which one of the
Of DuckTales.
of the DuckTales? Yeah.
They got fucking Lin-Manuel Miranda voicing Gizmo Duck.
Cool.
Yeah. Mundane facts. Anyway.
Yeah, we were chock full of those fuckers, aren't we?
Yeah. You guys
So is
want to hear?
David Diggs doing Launchpad McQuack then? Like, is
Oh,
that,
I wish.
God.
That would be something.
that would be fantastic.
They got Beck Bennett. Yeah, I didn't think so.
Oops.
Didn't think so. All right. You guys want to hear about what album we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh,
I'm waiting to hear from Todd.
Wait. See, I have it.
Oh, there it is.
Yep.
You guys can't see it on video here, but it's an album.
Yeah, Todd went the extra mile and actually bought a compact disc copy of the album.
I've actually never played it though. Like I've just I've just been listening to it on my Amazon Music account. So
We may need you to open that up at some point so we can have.
I
liner notes.
will.
Yeah, we got to check those liners.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So, hey, what the heck can you say about Prince Rogers Nelson that hasn't already been said? Easily one of the most important pop artists of all time, Prince was the full package during his 40-plus career as a musician. Immensely wide vocal range, skilled at playing multiple instruments including drums, bass, keys, synths, and an absolute virtuoso on guitar, and versatile enough to cover a wide range of genres, including rock, funk, R&B, soul, psychedelic, and many more. From his album debut in 1979, Prince was immediately a best-selling pop artist, racking up over 150 million records sold worldwide, over 50 Billboard Top 40 hits worldwide, including 15 number one hits, 7 Grammys, 7 Brit Awards, 4 MTV Video Music Awards, and even a Best Song Academy Award. All that would be a potent enough legacy for Prince, but his influence has far exceeded his juggernaut commercial success. LA Times writer Randall Roberts has referred to Prince as among the most versatile and restlessly experimental pop artists of our time. And our best friend of all time, Stephen Thomas Erlewine of AllMusic.com, wrote of him, "With each album he's released, Prince showed remarkable stylistic growth and musical diversity, constantly experimenting with different sounds, textures, and genres. No other contemporary artist blended so many diverse styles into one cohesive whole. His music has served as an inspiration to the likes of Alicia Keys, Justin Timberlake, Lenny Kravitz, Janelle Monáe, and many, many more."
Did you really say whole?
What?
Stephen Thomas Erlewine? The comment about like cramming the genres into the whole.
That's the line. Into a cohesive whole. Not like a hole. Not like a hole in the ground. Hole with a
W. Rat trick.
Oh. Jesus Christ! What is wrong with me?
Patrick, you're drunk. Go home.
Man, it's this crazy Rhode Island beer. Narragansett.
Oh,
There he is.
Here's the thing. For all of Prince's influence and genius songwriting, he had also been somewhat infamous during his lifetime for not playing particularly nice with his record labels. Certainly not Warner Brothers, his longtime label since his debut record. Cut to 1993, during a time of extremely prolific songwriting for Prince and a less excited commercial response to his 12th album. This, coupled with Warner Brothers' refusal to release his extended catalog at a steady pace, led Prince to rebel from his record label, changing his name to the same unpronounceable love symbol that his 12th album was named for, and releasing albums at a quicker pace in a means of getting out of his contract. One of these albums, the last one of new material to bear the name Prince until the aughts, was 1994's Come, which was derided by Prince himself in the media as old material, and while moderately successful commercially, took a pretty bad beating critically. That same Stephen Thomas Erlewine of AllMusic gave it 2 stars. He pretty much called it a record fulfilling a contract, nothing more, nothing less. And Rolling Stone writer Tom Moon stated, Come documents Prince at a surprisingly mediocre point. Still able to pop out thumping, genuinely new grooves, but unwilling to leave them alone, also giving it 2 stars. Come may not be considered one of Prince's absolute worst of all time for the context surrounding it, but it's definitely one of the most infamous, and is not so fondly remembered among his greatest material. And now, we're gonna listen to it.
Come.
Thank you, that was very necessary.
Yeah, holy shit. So what happened? I wasn't paying attention.
All right. Easily one of the most important pop art.
Just kidding. This was an interesting listen for me. I'm a huge Prince fan.
Oh, yeah?
Particularly, the early shit. I love everything from the self-titled, the 79 self-titled, through Sign of the Times. I think is just fucking 10 stars.
Yeah, a lot of people consider that like the absolute best period of Prince.
Yeah, and I'm actually not too familiar with the 90s era of Prince, so
Me neither.
I was kind of going into this with not a lot of context, and I think it kind of gave me a chance to actually objectively listen to what this dude was doing at the time. So I don't know, like, a lot of these reviews were only kind of just like what in context to like better material that he would do the next year or something. Is that why it was so derided?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Did you have any previous like Prince experience, Todd?
Well, I mean, Prince has always been kind of like part of my soundtrack growing up. I mean, as a kid, Prince was just like sort of a part of that MTV generation of which I guess I'm a part of. Yeah. And so, Prince is kind of always sort of ubiquitous when I think about, music of my childhood, even though in my youth I don't think I had a real serious appreciation for it. I didn't quite understand it, and certainly the way Prince's music was presented to me he was not exactly the most like family friendly artist, and so no. I think probably
to be sure.
I think probably
he has an album called "Come."
But I think certainly like as I got older and I became a musician, and I started to appreciate more of what he was doing, and then when I started making my own records and I learned more about like his process and what he was doing, I became a really big Prince fan. I mean, obviously, like he's had some duds, here and there, but overall, I find his catalog like to be pretty satisfactory, to say the least. And certainly, when he passed in 2016, I actually took that a lot harder than Bowie's death or a lot of the other deaths that we experienced that year.
Yeah, I would say the same. I think Prince definitely was more, like, kind of more in line to what I'm about musically. As much respect as I have for Bowie, just for whatever reason, we seem to conflate the two with each other because they died at the same time and sort of have a similar breadth of their catalog.
Their biggest commercial successes came around the same time too.
Yeah, I mean,
or at least they sort of overlapped at various points.
Yeah, but I think with Prince, where he's like a multi-instrumentalist and someone who's like, you know, very Machiavellian about hit the production and you know, he's sort of, you know, just the sheer prolificness of his catalog. You know, that's just something I think is just so fucking cool.
Well, I mean, like, definitely a lot more than David Bowie. I mean, they were both, you know, big presences, but Prince, like, there were definitely periods of time where, you know, if you've ever turned on a radio, you could not escape Prince.
Right.
Prince was that big
Absolutely
for a long
not,
time.
yeah.
For a long stretch of time. And I would say, like, he's still probably pretty big if you've ever listened to, like, soft rock or classic hits or anything like that.
Yeah. You know, he's a staple at weddings. I would say you're definitely hearing 1999 or some shit at, like, you know, any wedding that you go to. He's
I mean,
he just
like,
writes good fucking dance music.
I spin at, like, goth industrial nights, and for some of, like, the older crowds, I put on, like, When Doves Cry or something. That fills the floor, man.
Fuck
Oh,
yeah.
when Doves Cry is dance floor candy for goths. Like, it really is. Like they, you know, that lack of a bass line for whatever reason just works for people.
Yeah, it's practically a Joy Division song, yeah.
Oh, boy. So what do you say we start getting into some of the tracks?
Let's dive into
Right.
Oh,
cum.
yeah.
Good God.
Let's dive head first into a bucket of cum. It's a metaphorical bucket.
Yeah. The ice bucket, the cum bucket challenge. Good God.
So before we get
We're
into
getting blue tonight. This is bad.
I mean, we're all
appropriate.
just out of work for the most part,
Yeah.
and we're itching for a bruising.
Yeah.
I've been on vacation all day. So
Fuck yeah.
and I'm on vacation all week, so
Go nuts. Anyway, before
yeah, I am going nuts. This is my nuts.
Good God.
keeping it blue.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I'm just gonna come out
Yep.
and say before we get into the tracks, I don't consider this album to be one of Prince's worst. I can think of at least 3 other albums that I consider to be lower quality that we could probably get into at a later episode, but for this point, I'm just going to say right out the bat, it's not one of his worst works. It's not great, but not some of his worst.
I will second that. It's definitely not one of his worst, and I think we can pretty much say right away that, you know, because it is Prince and because he's the kind of artist that held himself to such a high standard for all the music that he put out, even the stuff that he doesn't really even care about that much is still gonna be
Right.
pretty good. That's, you know, with a Prince record, you're gonna get some pretty quality recordings. You know, even if it's kind of like, you know, stuff that is kind of like, you know, this really should have been a B-sides like sort of record. It's still gonna be pretty good.
Yeah,
so.
I like every track, you know, for the most part, all the way through.
Right. Let's not dig too deep into like that sort of stuff because we usually save that for the very end of the.
All right, episode's over.
podcast. All right, that's just about does it for G-Pod 07.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into this track number 1, self-titled track right off the bat, titled "Come."
Down, 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 and then I no more way up. Spirits calling, there's a reason why. If you had the chance to see the future, would you try? You are so alive.
All right, so anybody familiar with Prince's previous material should know, above all else, Prince likes himself some coitus. And he's never been shy about that either.
He's a horny little bugger.
Yeah, he is, but he's usually
Very
masked
unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's usually been able to mask his horny lyrics under a veneer of metaphor and symbolism. Here, though, on the opening track titled "Come," not so much.
He's landing it right out there, yeah.
Instead, we got subtle lines like, "When I call you up, I want to tell you what to wear. Don't be surprised if I tell you to go bare." Or, "With my tongue in the crease, baby, I go round." or don't be surprised if I make you your daily meal.
Yeah, that's
Just-
butt cheeks.
Just to put this in context, this is pre-Jehovah's Witness Prince. In case there was any confusion.
Yeah. I just want to bring up right now, this is not a family program. I don't know if we've actually
That ship has sailed.
that claim at this point. Yeah. So at this point, we're on episode 16. Your child is already traumatized. Sorry, not my fault. You should have taught him younger.
He's gonna hear some good. He's gonna hear some good ass music though. Sometimes.
Yeah. We're toting out all the classics for the children.
So, like, I wouldn't be too surprised if, like, this extra thick raunchiness on Prince's part was connected to his frustration with Warner Brothers. Because, I mean, he was trying to escape his contract with them, initially by releasing albums in quick succession, but...
And he wanted to have sex with them. Okay, gotcha.
But, I mean, like, maybe he saw this as, like, an opportunity to give them too much explicit content to handle as well.
Okay, yeah.
Because, like, right after he really, exploded in the 1980s, there was a concerted effort from his label to make him more, like, family-friendly so that he could get into a bigger market and stuff like that. So this song is basically just Warner Brothers going, hey, Prince, maybe tone it down with the sexy talk. And Prince going, what's that? More sexy talk? Okay.
And I mean, really, like with this song in particular, this tune was on an early version of the record that he submitted to Warner Brothers, and they at first they didn't want it.
That's
but
right.
Then he ended up recutting this song to its 11-minute length. Like, first of all, how awesome is that the opening track on this record is 11 minutes long? Like, that's just like how many like zero fucks that Prince gave about.
I know what major record labels like. They love 11-minute opening tracks.
And like, but
I haven't done that since like 11th grade.
Yeah, but I mean, like even after cutting it to not even cutting it down, but really more like just building it up to 11 minutes. Like, that was when Warner Brothers accepted the version. Maybe they were just kind of like, man, if we send this back to him after he sent us an 11-minute version, what's he gonna do next? Maybe we should just release this now,
Right.
before this
and
gets
the funny
out of
thing
control.
is
It just gets longer and longer and longer.
We'll get the movie version and go.
Well, that's the funny thing, because even that version wasn't the final version of the record after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I'll bring that up a little later, but just to like tie it back to this, talking about this song specifically, like ignoring all the dirty lyrics and like, all the kind of, stick it to the manish kind of nature. Guys, I don't like this song. I don't like it. It's certainly exceptional jamming, but I don't like jamming on studio recorded songs. It just feels like something that can only be recorded live. Otherwise, it's just kind of aimless background noise. It's basically the same problem I had from like the Zwan episode with their song Jesus I / Mary Star of the Sea. Like, there are multiple times I found myself pulling up to the YouTube window. I listened to the album on YouTube, thinking, okay, surely the song must be reaching the end now, only to be let down every time. I mean, Prince already had a reputation for excess by this point in his career, but on Come, we're getting our first taste of his ridiculous excess that really reached some ridiculous levels in the aughts.
Yeah, I don't think it needed to be 11 minutes long, but I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was kind of sexy. I mean, the lyrics were fucking stupid, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I don't know.
I mean, you have to kind of think about, you have to put this in the context of the year. This record came out in 1994.
Right.
And, this song was basically designed to be a sex jam song. Like, you're supposed to put this track on and start pounding away.
Yeah, I mean, 11 minutes is a
and
good,
you don't want
length.
to have to be messing with the playlist while you're mid act here.
Right.
Like,
I mean, I gather that, and it certainly works on that level, but I just didn't really like it as just a song on its own. Like, it was just like way too meandering for me.
I don't know. Some guys only need like 90 seconds. We're getting raunchy on this episode.
I think it's not, obviously it's not a single, like it wasn't,
No,
I don't
by
think it
no
was
means.
designed to be. So I don't listen to it in that sense of like, oh, it's supposed to be like an X amount of length, and so because it's longer than that, it doesn't work. I think for what it's designed to do, it absolutely works. And certainly like within the overall arrangement of the song, there are some interesting things that he does with like the horn sections and and other parts like that. But like probably in 2018, this song definitely doesn't work because obviously like our attention spans are much shorter. Bands and especially record labels will say things like you really shouldn't have a song that's longer than 3 minutes and 20 seconds,
right?
So this as just an artifact of its time is both emblematic of what record labels were actually really willing to put up with from an artist that they knew was like the real banana.
Of course, especially a high profile artist like Prince, like that, just the sort of shit that they would let him get away with at that point.
Yeah,
right. I mean, I don't want to like give off the impression that this means I hate the album off the bat, but in general, I just don't think it's like a very good way to open an album like this. But that was probably the point.
Yeah,
I usually listen to this song when I was walking to work too every day, and I have like a 45-minute walk to my office, and so this just sort of kept the pace for walking. So it worked that way.
It's not the worst thing to walk to, I guess.
Yep, get a little jaunt in your step.
Jaunty.
All right, how do you feel about moving on to track number 2, guys?
Yeah.
All right, track number 2. This one, I believe, was a single off of the album. This one is titled Space.
You and I were just 10 feet closer than I make you understand. That everything I wanna do to your body, baby, I will do to your hand. Then you be hip to the deep rush, deeper than the boom of the bass. With every other flick of the pink plush, the closer we get to the space.
Yep, one of 2 singles from the album. Space never managed to reach the Billboard Hot 100 charts, but it did reach number 71 on the R&B charts. And it also managed to peak at number 91 on the Australian ARIA charts.
Yeah. the old ARIA charts. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that up.
It's their equivalent of Billboard.
Well, they're listening down there. Hey, guys.
Hey, Australia. How's your kangaroos?
We want to know. Send us your kangaroos.
Yes. Send us
kangaroos.
Send us your kangaroos so we can have them on the podcast to review Love Beach with us.
There we go. They'll do it. They'll totally do it.
Yeah, kangaroos love Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. It's a proven fact.
No, it's better if they hate them.
Oh.
I think.
Don't send us kangaroos, Australia. Send us dingoes. They hate everything.
So this song had, speaking of like 93, 94, kind of had a bit of a Mark Morrison Return of the Mac vibe to me. You know that track,
a little bit, yeah.
That like early 90s sort of trip
hop
but like with R&B vocals over it. I don't know.
I got some kind of like hints of like Tricky or like Sneaker Pimps a little bit too.
Yeah, it's very hazy, but like definitely had that that hip hop vibe to it.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of what's going on, I think, in this song is and especially over the record in its entirety, is that this record is Prince's New Jack Swing record.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of New Jack Swing on this album.
That it's very heavy on the snare drum.
It's got that shuffly beat.
Yeah, a lot of that beat shuffle kind of groove to it. Lot of snap and all the percussion and all that is. So even though by this point, really, I think like New Jack Swing was definitely on its downswing. So, but I guess like these songs were recorded or written around like maybe 91 or 92, I guess. So
okay, that makes sense.
That might have still like weighed a bit. Would have that sound would have been a bit on Prince's mind, I think, like at the time he was working on these songs. But this one I think like has like some interesting stuff going on in the percussion section. Has those side stick taps going on. I think it's one of the 3 songs I think where he had like actual played drums on it. Or at least where I know that who was it? Michael B is credited as the drummer on this and two other tunes on this record. So
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my question. I wasn't sure if he was playing all the instruments on this or if he actually had a band.
on this and a couple other songs, I think he employed members of the New Power Generation to play on it. Although it's very likely he might have created the drum loops himself for a lot of the other songs. He was certainly qualified to do that.
Right. A lot of the percussion on here definitely has a kind of looped feeling to them, especially with some of the fills on this track, which I kind of dig, by the way.
Yeah, there's some cool breaks in there too. Yeah, with the percussion.
This actually brings up something that I wanted to run by you guys. Did you get the feeling that maybe because of the sonic quality of a lot of these songs that maybe he was experimenting with early DAW recording technology here, like actually maybe recording this on computer? There's something about it that sounds like this went direct to a hard drive.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah, I think with some of the like glitchy drum edits, I could totally see that being a thing. So like what would have been around at that point, probably early iterations of Pro Tools or whatever.
I feel like
maybe an early version of Pro Tools or Logic or something.
Oh yeah, Logic.
I get the feeling that this was like maybe recorded in, a B studio at Paisley Park, where he like had a MacBook set up with some like software on it that he could experiment with, and it's certainly on later songs it definitely comes up more, I think.
Yeah, I could
this
see
is
that.
This is definitely a much more competent early computer recording than Billy Idol did.
Yeah,
well, actually,
cyberpunk.
This would have been a contemporary of that too,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was the same year or not, but it had to have been like either the year after or the year before or something like that.
Yeah, it was 93, 94.
Yeah, because if Cyberpunk came out in 93 and these songs were written in like 92, like maybe Prince and Billy Idol were working on their records around the same.
For the most part, it was recorded during 93 as well.
Yeah. So that would make them contemporaries of each other. Then so yeah, obviously Prince probably a little bit more fluent with how to use the technology. Yeah. Definitely more talented with
Prince was just watching Billy Idol stumble over himself and taking notes.
Oh yeah, were they staying in the same apartment in LA?
You know what? Yes. They were like, Billy Idol was just like, Prince, come to the window, it's on fire.
I don't wanna. I'll make pancakes.
Come on, Prince, the pancakes can wait. The buildings are on fire.
All right, hold on.
I'm Paul McCartney and I'm here too.
Hey, Paul.
And scene.
I love...
These are my friends. These are my friends. Okay.
So, to sum it up, I mean, it's nothing super exceptional, but I kind of dig this song for like all the things we just mentioned, and it's got like some nice little spacious atmospheres going on, and I feel like it grooves a little better than Cum did. I dig it.
Sorry.
That's very weird to say.
It does. Yeah, I like the way this song hit, especially coming after the fucking 11-minute behemoth. This was a nice break. Yeah,
after 11 minutes of Cum.
Yeah, after 11 minutes of Cum, you get a nice little bit of space. Huh? There you go.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this one I still dug this one a lot. Although my only sort of problem with space is just that I tend to get lost in it a little bit. I like the groove a lot.
Lost in space.
I get lost in the space. Right. Buzzing.
Set yourself up for that one.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fine.
Oh, the pain.
Yeah. So it's not as, I think, structured as well, but what groove it has is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I liked the sort of tranciness of it.
Yes,
it was a good,
absolutely. I think that's it. Maybe that's what I was looking for, is that it has more of a trance-like effect on me.
What was that hip hop group that had like that one hit during the early '90s? one of their members died recently. They also, like, their hit was also, like, really kind of trancey hip-hop. It had, like, a title, like, you know...
PM Dawn?
On the thresh... PM Dawn, that's it.
Yes!
I just thought of it. This has a PM Dawn kind of feel to it a little
What was
bit.
their big single?
I forget the title.
Set Adrift on Memory Bliss.
That's it. It was on the tip of my head. Set Adrift on a Memory Bliss.
Yep.
Cool. I probably
good.
know it.
Yeah, they were
I
good.
missed them.
All right, let's move on to track number 3. This one titled Pheromone. So, you know, there's a theme.
Pheromone, rush over me like an ocean. Pheromone, controlling my every motion. Pheromone, I'm helpless as a pet. Pheromone, when nobody's wet, body's wet.
Another track leaning pretty heavily into New Jack Swing.
Yup.
Fun fact, for a time this was used as the theme music to a BET program called Video LP, which was a very early take on TRL.
Yeah, did they include that sweet ASMR intro to this fucking song? Oh, man.
No idea.
I was fucking getting moist listening to that.
Yeah, we'll touch on that a little later.
Christ.
Not literally.
Figuratively, yeah. Hopefully. I have
This
some
song,
apologies to make next week.
Will any of them be related to Smash Mouth?
They'll be related to, I don't know.
Oh, by the way, Pat, we're kicking you out of the Friday Night C Squad because you failed to recognize that Walking on the Sun was not a cover.
Well, I'll be on the D squad. It's fine.
So this song, it's okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Prince sounds a little bit bored a couple of times, but it's okay.
It sounds like a pretty baseline Prince song to me. What I would expect from 1994 Prince, I guess.
Seems like a fair assessment.
Yeah, this song is probably it definitely like does the New Jack Swing thing well. I mean, like even hearing the clip you just played like through my little headphones here, like that snare drum comes through like loud and clear. Like it's just so high up in that mix, it just smacks you in the face.
There, yeah, and it rings.
And
Rangs.
yeah. I think there's no, just for like there's something about this song though that like didn't I don't know, maybe maybe it's just the idea of like writing a song about sweating. I don't know. Like didn't sit well with me. Like I'm like this is sexy. This is where we're at. Okay. But I guess
Someone finds it sexy.
Someone
he's
did.
really kind of running out of themes for sex, so I guess we're just like starting to dissect the biology of it at this point.
I mean, if you think of it that way, like when Prince converted to Jehovah's Witness, maybe he was kind of relieved. That meant like I don't have to write about sex anymore. I can write about whatever Jehovah's Witnesses write about.
You know, just like coming over to people's houses and
With a casserole.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't have to he didn't always have to write songs about sex. He didn't have to become a Jehovah's Witness to figure that out, did he?
I guess not.
I guess not.
I mean,
He's dead now, so
Sign of the Times kind of didn't have quite as much sexy songs as like some of his other oeuvre.
Yeah, actually, Controversy was very there's a lot of political tracks on it, a lot of shit about like Ronald Reagan. This was like early 80s Prince.
Right. So it's interesting to note all the various revisions this album went through before settling into the final product, which is also kind of a window into both Prince's frustration with Warner Brothers and how frustrating Prince was to work with. We kind of touched on this earlier. Space was originally part of a selection of 8 tracks recorded in early 1993, which included Pheromone and Come, and several other tracks, a few of which we'll get to later in the review. After Prince started going by The Love Symbol, he announced his intent to fulfill his Warner Brothers contract by delivering mostly unreleased music, originally as a part of an interactive experience titled Glam Slam Ulysses, which was a musical based loosely on Homer's Odyssey. This was his way of basically getting around his record label and being able to release new music to people.
I love Homer. I love the Simpsons. They're funny. I don't like that Bart, though. He's a jerk.
Let's all go out for frosty chocolate milkshakes.
My favorite episode.
I mean, those early shorts were not very funny, but there's something...
Either like the first 2 seasons of that show.
There's still something incredibly, enjoyably funny about earliest Homer kind of stuff like that.
It's so
Bart, time for your bath, boy.
Well, it's so funny that, like, these dumbass shorts were not very good, and then somehow they managed to, like, catch the eye of Fox to, like, they let him make a show out of it, and then, like, they somehow scored all these great writers, like, but the idea, like, wasn't very good to begin with.
Not really. No.
They're just a bunch of yellow people, like, they're a bunch of yellow people with weird voices, and they had weird haircuts, and they weren't fucking funny at all.
A whole family of people with jaundice.
Yeah, seriously, it's kind of gross. Like, and they were all like wiggly and fucking weird me out.
Talking about milkshakes.
Well, Matt Groening was like, you know, he said that when he originally pitched like these shorts, he sort of very quickly drew the Simpsons, you know, on pieces of paper, and you know, he handed this and said, "Oh yeah, I want to do like shows about these people, you know, and these are the character drawings." And they said, "Okay, yeah, sure, we'll do it." And they took the drawings, and he thought, "Oh, they're going to send that to a production team who's going to clean up the drawings and make them look better." Nope, not at all. Didn't happen. Like what he scribbled, you know, on, you know, a scrap of napkin or whatever it was, you know, to hand to the producers. That's what they put on the Tracy Ullman show. So
maybe think of there was like a Simpsons episode where Troy McClure was hosting, like some like, I don't know, it was like some random number, but they were showing clips of the Tracy Ullman shorts, and they're like, and yeah, the show included everyone's favorite characters, like Grandpa Simpson and Krusty the Clown, and they looked like they were drawn by like a 5-year-old or some shit. See, what I think was like Matt Groening probably came up to them like with the Life in Hell cartoon, like the one. All right, great, cool.
Well,
do you have anything other than the fucking one-eared rabbit?
That's exactly it. Actually, they came to him because they liked Life in Hell, but Matt Groening didn't want to give up the rights to Life in Hell, so he presented him with The Simpsons instead. Yeah, and that turned into a fucking juggernaut.
Do you have anything other than that one-eared rabbit? Yeah, hold on. Just scribble some fucking weird yellow guys real quick.
That's right, we were talking about Prince. So anyway, after premiering these tracks at Prince's Glam Slam nightclub, they would be tossed back and forth from album to album, being revised into various different concepts, before settling into 2 different albums. One was Come, and the other would be the first album Prince released as the love symbol, The Gold Experience. This version of Come was originally turned down by Warner Brothers because Prince had removed the title track, which led him to go back and completely retool the song into the bloated 11-minute track we just heard earlier. Warner Brothers accepted this iteration of Come, only for Prince to go back and change the album again, removing several of the more rock-oriented tracks and adding a few more tracks, which we'll get to a lot later.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, you gonna
and they kept the 11-minute version of Come at that point too.
Right.
Fantastic.
I mean, they were wrecked after that.
I mean, at that point, Warner Brothers
smoked a cigarette.
At that point, Warner Brothers was just kind of like, really, more revisions? Sure, whatever. But the tracks that would go to the Gold Experience, those ones were a little more rock-oriented and more suitable for, like, pop music, and they actually ended up being big hits, including, what's it called? The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, I think, was one, and that was actually a pretty big hit for Prince during the 1990s.
That was huge. That was a huge hit.
Yeah. But anyway, Warner Brothers accepted both of those albums, but refused to release both simultaneously, as Prince had wanted. Because what Prince wanted to do was he wanted the 2 albums to compete with each other. The darker, more experimental Prince album, Come, and the more marketable and pop-friendly love symbol album, The Gold Experience. I guess to prove some kind of point or something like that? Or to just deliberately sabotage Warner Brothers.
Yeah, just to release an album called Cum and have all the songs be about big cummies. Big cummies on your bummies. I don't know. That's what I got out of it. I'm 5.
We're just learning that now, apparently.
Yeah, so when a boy loves...
Here lies Patrick S. Berry.
Oh,
Bummies
speaking
covered
of
in cummies.
oh, but that's
Speaking of that, right.
speaking of that. Here lies. Maybe hopefully you guys
Right,
can
the
see
album
this.
cover.
So I know our listeners can't see it, but I have the actual like CD here and the liner notes now.
Right. Yeah,
In
let's
the,
talk a little bit about the album.
So like basically
about
like
that.
I'll show you guys. So like here's the cover.
Right.
It folds out. Notice how I'm folding out. It folds out into like a sort, instead of like a booklet, it's like a 4-panel graphic. So there's that whole. That's the same. Like there's the front cover right
it's
there.
a castle.
Apparently, it's a church actually.
Okay. Same
Yeah, it's like some cathedral in Italy, I think.
Barcelona and
Barcelona, Spain.
and so
My bad.
But on the back here, where he has all the liner notes for it, there's this great picture up in the corner here, and I'll try to zoom in for you. Oh, that is Dead Prince.
Just kind of
It's supposed to be some kind of
lying
like
on a crypt or something.
funeral.
He is the walrus.
some sort of like
yeah.
funeral-ish thing that was going on.
Right.
In there.
Yeah,
Well, it
he
says
was-
right on the cover, 1958 to
1993.
1990.
Right.
Yeah.
He was
yeah.
really going to every effort possible to just completely like expunge himself from Warner Brothers with that with imagery like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, Pheromone's okay.
Yeah. Not my favorite.
Yeah, mine neither.
Nope.
Let's move on to track number 4. This one's titled Loose, or if you say it the way it says on the album, Loose.
Loose.
Everybody wants to know what's wrong with you. They see you acting like a crazy fool. When the music hits, you don't know what to do. Push your way up to the front and shake your motherfucking do.
So guys, I think this might be my favorite track on the album.
Oh my god, it's
pretty
probably
fucking
my
cool.
favorite track too.
Yeah, this song is pretty rad. I will admit.
It's not even one of the more complex songs on the album. Like, it's one of the
No.
shortest ones too, but it is the fucking jam, man.
It's bonkers.
It is
Yeah,
awesome.
It hits hard, it hits fast, it's infectious as hell. I mean, and like honestly, I was wondering how long it would take us to reach a point where like Prince was finally shredding on this album.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the guitar parts on this song are fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean,
is, yeah.
for everything negative I've said thus far about the album, this track shows that for all of Prince's eccentricities, he fucking rips on guitar, and that kind of gives you hope.
Yeah, and I think that this song in and of itself is, really speaks to the, just like how he can take all the, so many different genres and sort of like reinterpret it through his own filter, his own sort of princely filter, and just churn out something that's just so, original and unique. I can't really quite describe what I'm actually listening to. It's a cool fucking track.
Oh yeah, totally.
This song definitely for me, like when I heard it, it immediately made me think of a lot of the records that I was listening to around that time, or maybe a couple of years later, especially a lot of the underground, like industrial records
Yeah.
that,
Right.
that I was getting into, and a lot of the like. A lot of that, like, West Coast style hardcore techno sort of stuff that was coming out of LA.
Not to like step
And-
over what you're saying, but this kind of ties into it. One of my bullet points I have here is like if Lords of Acid were funky.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. There's a Lords of Acid type sound of it. I also heard a lot of a band called Argyle Park, which was a side project of Clayton from Cell Dweller and Circle of Dust. That there was actually like I think some synth sounds on there that I thought were also on that Argyle Park record, and it really made me think about how artists like Prince, and I also think Bowie would fall into this category, is that, they're also music fans big time. They're listening to a lot of different stuff all the time, and I don't think that they're just listening to their back catalog and thinking like, oh, I'm so awesome.
Prince is doing that. He was doing that.
No, they're I think they actually have much more fluency than they often get a lot of credit for. And I think certainly, with a lot of the songs on this record, and especially with this one, I think this was sort of Prince sort of experimenting with things like, well, I've been listening to all this techno stuff out of LA. What if I try taking some drum loops like that and making a song out of it,
right? And
this is what we get.
Yeah, that's a really good that's a really good point. I feel like when you've got a personality like Prince or David Bowie or someone like that you associate with a very specific sound, it's really easy to forget that they were listening to other stuff too.
Like Bowie, we know, was definitely listening to a lot of drum and bass stuff in the 90s, and he was working very closely with Reeves Gabrels at the time,
Trent Reznor,
and of course, Reeves was very heavy into industrial, in the 90s, and lo and behold, in 97, that's when Bowie came out with the Earthling album, which is just a dyed-in-the-wool industrial record.
Very underrated in my mind.
Oh, that's probably my favorite Bowie record, hands down. And I think this song, Loose, definitely just shows that Prince is was probably another one of those guys another one of those artists who was always trying to take in as much music as he could, from all genres, and considering his virtuosity on such a wide variety of instruments, he was the kind of guy who, was probably checking out everything from industrial stuff to metal to, country music, anything he could get his ears, wrapped around to fuel his creativity. And it comes out in, I think, interesting ways. And I think definitely this song and a few key others on this record definitely show that he was definitely a lot more than people give him credit for. And people give him credit for a lot. But this song definitely is, I think, one of the gems of his catalog.
Yeah. Talk about a deep cut, because I would have never thought to listen to this album otherwise.
Yeah, me neither. Prince has got some multitudes. Yeah. He's not just the sex man. That's what they call him,
Old
right?
Sex man. That's what.
I'm the sex man.
Oh boy. We're terrible.
Nerds!
Track number 5. Let's move on to that. This one titled Papa.
Oh, Papa. Oh, Papa, Papa. Oh, Papa. Oh, Papa, Papa.
Yes, Papa. Give me all your cummies.
Jesus, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was this actually about his dad? I'm sorry.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm sorry. I was under the impression this was a concept.
No, don't
album.
defend it. That'll make it worse. So, before that little prelude, I was going to say that I kind of dig this track too, just for how jarring of a change of tone it is. I mean, Come has always been described as one of Prince's darkest albums, and I feel like this track is probably one of the most solid representations of that. It's eerie, it's foreboding, and it's got all these wiry background noises and stuff.
Yeah.
It's semi-autobiographical to boot. Some of the lyrics about child abuse may have actually been taken, cues of that may have been taken from Prince's own tumultuous childhood. I mean, his parents divorced in 1966, and there were periods of time when Prince himself changed his dresses more than 30 times during his childhood. Accounts differ on just what the extent of what was fiction and what was reality. There was one interview with his mother, Mattie Della Shaw, basically stating that she and Prince's father, jazz musician John L. Nelson, had, and I quote, normal disagreements. Some people, cultural critic Touré, had kind of different thoughts on the matter. There was a Harvard talk that he gave where he basically said that he kept a lot of feelings to himself, and he felt that like Prince had been shaped by being functionally abandoned by his mother.
Yeah.
And you made cummies jokes, Patrick.
Yeah. I mean,
Naughty.
whatever. He's just, what is he going to do? Fight me? He's dead.
Digging yourself deeper.
All right, I'll walk.
Gonna dig him up, smack his corpse around, huh? Is that what you're gonna do?
Guys! Come on!
Man is a musical genius, okay? It's fine. No, that makes a lot of sense, though. And he probably, was constantly looking for attention, and that this is a way to do that, and, looking for mother's affection, needs lots of cummies. I don't know. You know where I was going with that.
I did know where you were going with that. I didn't want to... What have we become?
I'm sorry. Continue.
I like the song. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it's a good song.
That's good. It is a good song. I'm sorry.
I kicked the table with my laptop.
This is going to a dark place. Fast.
No fucking kidding.
Okay, so I think this song, I definitely like this song. I like the groove that it strikes. I like the use of percussion in it. This was another one of the songs that had what's his name? Was it Michael B credited on it as one of the drummers?
Really snappy New Jack Swing style.
Yeah, it's all over this record. You really just can't get away from it.
It's not a New Jack Swing style beat on this track, though.
No, not on this particular track. Although production wise, the whole like snares being really high in the mix is just prevalent throughout every track, and this one is no different. Although it's used to actual, I guess you could say, cinematic effect to emphasize the when he says like the smack, the actual
right.
child abuse that is supposed to be going on. In this song.
It's a mood builder.
Exactly. And it's done well, because I don't think we really get that too much anymore, where we have the when it used to be the case, back in the old, in the early days of like records and radio, where like, instruments would be used like that a lot, and we don't really hear that too much anymore.
I mean, sampling has kind of taken the place of that.
Certainly. Yeah. The only thing that kind of bugs me about this song is actually the coda right at the end, where like
I kind of agree with you.
Yeah, because it's so moody and so brooding throughout the entire song, and then he has that little pause where he says don't something like don't abuse children or else they'll turn out like me. And then this whole big band thing comes in. And
right, you're right. I remember that. And it kind of takes you off guard.
He just has himself a little funky party.
Yeah. And it's like, that's the response to child abuse. Funky party.
It
really?
It definitely doesn't gel with the whole dark and desolate sound that came before it.
Yeah, definitely not. Like I said, it kind of took me out of it a little bit.
I mean, there's a nice message in it, like, don't abuse your children, but, there's always, like, he ends the track with, there's always a rainbow at the end of every rain, and it's nice and uplifting, but you're just talking a whole bunch about, like, you were just singing, like, this creepy sort of atmosphere about how your dad's gonna hit you, like, right before that.
Yeah.
It's and maybe the whiplash.
And maybe from Prince's perspective, that might be true, because certainly he went on. Let's take this at face value. If this is a song about his own child abuse, eventually he overcame and went on to become this
that's true.
Celebrated musician. So yeah, he did find a rainbow at the end of it. Although it's tough, I think, to. I think if maybe for some people who experience similar trauma, did they always have a rainbow? If you didn't, it might be hard to kind of take that coda, and say like, oh yeah, sure, okay, dude, yeah, I'll keep my head up. Like,
yeah, it kind of doesn't make you relate to it as much.
Yeah,
situations
yes,
like that.
exactly. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely gets harder to relate to at the end, whereas during that the rest of the song, it's definitely got a very strong presence going on there.
Right.
I'm really looking forward to those negative iTunes reviews we're gonna get.
1 star, too many cummy jokes.
Yeah, I mean,
Their guest was
trying
an
out some new
idiot.
shit. Guest isn't the problem; it's the co-host.
Bring back Jim Schultz screaming about Joey Jordison. I liked that part.
That is
Jimmy Paul.
That one is good old Jimmy Paul. That was a popular episode, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit. Let's move on to track number 6, shall we? This one's titled Race. Not like a race, not like a foot race or a car race. It's, melanin.
Yeah.
Race in space, I'm not human. Race, bass the music, we all bones when we dig it. Race in space, I'm not human. Cut me, cut you, both the blood is red, I gotcha.
Boy, does this sound like it was written in the 90s.
Yeah,
Oh,
really.
Yeah, that is time stamped. And
yeah.
I'm hearing sounds.
Those hi-hats. Those hi-hats are what does it, I think, in this one. Plus, I think this was a period of time where you could get away with doing things in songs where, like, in your lyrics, you, like, have a buzz, you just go, like, lead line, and then do a guitar solo. Like, just in case you didn't know, this is where the lead line happens.
Yeah, those like little ad libs. You could totally get away with those back then.
It's got that muddy bass line. It's got that snare drum that you can't really figure out, like, is that a snare or is that a hand clap?
Now, there was actually like one little keyboard sound that reminded me a ton of. There's a track off of Parade, another Prince album. I want to say it was called Girls and Boys or something like that. But I was hearing a little bit of that in this track too. Definitely sounded like a Prince song, like unmistakably.
Yeah, I will also say, though, the brass section is kind of fucking killing it here.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would say there is some really cool horn arrangement stuff happening on this record, and there's another track on here that I think there's some like really astounding shit happening.
Right.
Let's move on.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for your next cummy joke.
I don't have anything about cummies for this song because
But you'll find a way to shoehorn it in, apparently.
well, I don't think it's appropriate because there's a message here of social justice that he's trying to get across, and apparently child abuse was fair game.
Right.
But I didn't know that. But I did know. I did pay attention to what this song was about because I was listening to the lyrics to this song. It's got a good message.
It does have a good message.
Yeah.
I should say, for clarification, in case there was any confusion, all three of us are goofy white people.
Yeah, absolutely.
As if they
if
weren't
this was-
painfully obvious enough already.
If this was a hacky aughts comedy, all three of us would be played by Eugene Levy.
Yep, absolutely. We'd all be teaching our sons to fuck pies. Big old.
Oh, that's who
pie
he is.
tummies.
Okay, thank you. I was like, who the heck is
Oh,
Eugene
Eugene Levy, yeah.
All right, okay, now I got it.
And we'd all be standing around Samuel L. Jackson looking awkward.
Yeah.
But it'd be funny, maybe. No? Okay. Track number 7. Track number 7. This one's titled Dark.
Like an innocent man that's on death row. I don't understand what made you go. I'm gonna leave me, baby. Leave me in the dark.
Prince dipping his toes into a little bit of gospel funk a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
Oh,
cool.
this is that 70s soul vibe
Oh, yeah.
all over
It's definitely
it.
some Marvin Gaye going on
Yeah,
here.
definitely a neo soul vibe happening here. I dug this track, and actually tying back to what I was saying before, this is the song that I think there is some sweet fucking horns on this
Yes,
track.
Oh, yeah?
absolutely.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that.
like Steely Dan grade shit right there.
Really? That's your that's your point of comparison.
That is my litmus right there.
I mean, I like Steely Dan, but really, that's what you're.
Dude,
okay.
they got great horn sections.
Okay.
Yeah, well mixed.
Just a quick reminder: we're still white.
Yes, we still are.
So there's some real moments of greatness on this album, and even though Prince didn't think very highly of it, in spite of the fact that, like, he called it old material, in spite of the fact that most of the material on here was recorded around the same time as the material on the Gold Experience, which he was a lot more eager to promote. He didn't tour to support the album and was kind of generally dismissive of it, what few times he did make promotional appearances on it. Part of me kind of wonders if, like, I mean, for what weak points there are on this album, I kind of wonder if those were replaced with, like, the tracks that he took away and put onto Gold Experience. Like, would this have just been, like, an unheralded, like, 90s classic? I kind of wonder about that.
I think it's definitely a song that didn't get a lot of the accolades it deserves, as, you know, in terms of both being a part of Prince's catalog. Because this is something I wish he had, like, had more live renditions of.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a great live track.
Yeah,
I really,
right?
It's really well written.
I mean, it's funny you mention that, because along with Pheromone, these are the only two songs from Come that were performed beyond the 1990s. Like, Prince didn't tour with the album, like I said, and only performed a few scant performances after the album's release.
There was no Come tour.
Yeah, you can't really put that on a marquee, can
We're
you?
gonna fill the stadium with Come.
There it is. There, that's what we were all waiting for.
Yep.
But, like, even though a lot of those tracks didn't get played after the initial release, Dark and Pheromone would be returned to decades after Come, with Dark having been performed as recently as 2016.
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, did he do that on his piano tour?
That's possible. Like, I looked this up on setlist.fm, but I didn't think to look what tour it was a part of or anything like that.
Dang.
Because I know he was doing his one piano and, like, one mic tour.
Yeah.
In 2016, right before he died.
Right.
So, oh wow, I should probably go find a live version of that, because I actually think this is a really fantastic song.
Yeah, I agree.
That really
well
just
written.
Yeah. Well written, well performed, a lot of really interesting parts, fantastic horn section like you mentioned before. Yeah. I love the organ parts in here. I think that was Tommy Barbarella from the New Power generation playing on that. And and again, it sort of oozes that actual like sexy 70s soul sort of tune.
Right, for sure.
And
kind of like you didn't need to, like, pile it on all that thickly. It's that kind of swagger and confidence from that era.
Yeah. And, you know, it really shows that, you know, he can really just bring that out. Like this sounds so effortless for him to do, you know, and it's one of those things where, like, you know, like, he had to be like, all right, we need a soul tune here. Okay. And he just knocks it out like it's nothing, you know?
Seriously. Yeah.
In one take, I bet.
This is like one take. Like, there, print, you know, we're done. Yeah.
Performed all the instruments simultaneously. He does all the horns.
How'd he do that?
He's
he has a big fancy Dr. Seuss like apparatus that lets him do
He's just got like one mouthpiece just connected to like 5 trumpets and like 4 saxophones, and
he's got a lot of air for a little guy.
Hey, Prince, we need this soulful track. No problem. Let me just hook up my fantabulous zip-zoop-zabulous zam-frabula-dam. What?
Oh, you know what they did to get all the great takes, though, is they took away his Dunkaroos.
But Prince needs those Dunkaroos.
No, you don't. You're going to give me...
And that's what the argument with Warner Brothers was all about. The Dunkaroos.
Yes, at its root, that's what it was all about.
Yeah, You're going to give me the purple rain, and you're going to give it good. Hey, I know Dunkaroos haven't been invented yet. It's only 1984, but I'm going to take them. Well, as soon as you get them, I'm taking them.
I'm going to take some red food coloring and some blue food coloring and put it in the frosting so that it turns purple. You're not gonna like that one bit, are you? It's like I'm making fun of you while I'm eating your Dunkaroos.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow. Oh, yeah.
Yes, these Dunkaroos pay for themselves. So, before we go on to the next track, you might have noticed up to this point, and I think you actually touched on this earlier, Pat, a few of the tracks on this album have been opening with sound clips of Prince quietly reading a poem against what sounds like kind of a beachy backdrop.
Yeah.
These poems, which appeared across the tracks Pheromone, Race, Dark, and the next, well, not the next one, but the track after the next one we're going to get to, these were originally part of a single track titled Poem, before being chopped up and interspersed throughout Come. The remaining portion...
Sorry.
Come on.
I can't fucking help it.
The remaining portions of the track appear as the final track on the album, which we'll get to later. Why they were all split up, I don't really have much of an idea why. Maybe as like a mood-building piece, but...
I mean, if they had to exist, I'm glad that it was split up. But yeah, man, I could have done without any of those sections. I could have done... like without having Prince whisper in my ear about how like I'm a virgin or something.
I don't think that's what he was whispering about, Pat.
That's what I heard. I don't know.
I don't think Prince was just whispering in your ear going, "You're a virgin."
No, but it's like...
Yes, I know. That's what you are. Are we going somewhere?
I got Dunkaroos.
The producer thought he got them all, but I got a secret stash hidden in my coat. That was the beach.
Oh, I thought that was them taking their magical spacecraft, Prince's purple spacecraft,
You know what?
away.
Yeah, let's say it was that.
Like she didn't even say anything. They just climbed right in and instantly fucking blasted off. Yeah.
Track number 8. Track number 8. This is gonna be an interesting detour. Track number 8, titled "Solo." That was the entire track.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So this was the only track on the album that wasn't exclusively written by Prince. This track was a collaboration between Prince and playwright David Henry Hwang. Hwang had originally met with Prince in 1993 to discuss collaborating on a musical. The musical never came to pass, but at the end of their initial meeting, Prince, for whatever reason, asked Hwang to write a poem about loss, because he wanted it to become a spoken word interlude of a song. Hwang wrote the poem and faxed it to Prince at Paisley Park, and later received a cassette with the final product on it, which featured music written by Prince, and the poem utilized as sung lyrics instead of spoken word. And that's what Solo became, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's certainly pretty sounding.
I'm glad it's under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I couldn't have taken any more of that.
It's not.
Oh wait, how long is it?
It's 3:48.
All right, I'm glad it's under 4 minutes.
Yes, but now you're disappointed it's over 3 minutes.
I'm a little bit of both. I don't know how to feel right now.
I mean, it's a pretty sounding song, but it doesn't have a discernible tune. It just kind of wanders around being self-indulgent. Prince probably looked at this as like a big centerpiece moment for the album because it displayed Prince's vocal power, which is certainly on display here, but it's pretty unengaging, I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was necessary. He's plenty interesting on like most other instruments that like you're getting a taste of his magic no matter what at any moment. We didn't need just a solo. Oh, I just got it. It's called Solo because it's just him singing, right?
There's also a harp.
All right, I didn't study, so.
See, I'm gonna break rank with you guys on this one. I actually really like this song a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I think that similar to Loose on this record, this is another song that actually shows the amount of interest that he had in taking in other forms of music, and of course one of them just happened to be opera. Having working with with David Henry Hwang on this song, who is the guy who wrote M Butterfly, I think is just sort of indicative of the kind of passion that Prince had for music, and that he sort of looked to all genres of music as an opportunity for him to hone his craft, to try and glean whatever he could from that. Considering that there are so many, I guess you could say, more conventional songs on this record, that this one definitely does stick out in the sense that it's mostly just him singing a cappella. It is vocally and lyrically drastically different from everything. It doesn't really fit in the context of what is essentially an R&B record for Prince. But then again,
Prince didn't write the lyrics to it, of course. Like that was all Hwang who wrote that. He just wrote the music.
Right. Which I think is also like really shows like how high Prince's acumen is that he took these lyrics, this poem by Hwang, and then and here he is working with a world famous librettist, and he still composes the music for it. That's really the kind of talent that Prince possessed, that he could actually step comfortably well outside his genre, or his assumed preferred genre, and still deliver something that I think definitely still had a lot of really like competent character to it. I don't really know opera well enough to say that this piece could stand against some of the most dramatic or interesting operas throughout music history. But I will say that you could this just as an artifact of Prince's capabilities, I think is a very interesting song. And I think it's kind of cool that we got to hear it. I think whatever record it would have turned up on, whether it was this one or the Gold Experience or the the Black Album or what have you, I think it was a lot of people might have the same sort of reaction to it that you guys are having. Like, I don't know about this one, but I sort of look at it as there's a lot to Prince. There was a lot more to him than a lot of people give him credit for, and I think this was that coming out. And
that's fair.
Yeah, you also you gave this album a lot more listens than I did, admittedly, and I think that was sort of the one thing that I could probably take away from the initial listen of this song, is that there was just a little too much for me to wrap my head around, and I think it will definitely sort of reveal itself to me more with multiple listens. And in essence, it is an interesting track. It's different. It's it's a guy trying to stretch out his range a little bit.
Right.
I can appreciate that.
Who knew Prince could do opera?
One thing I'll also say real quick, and I just thought of this when you were talking about Prince's range and stuff. It kind of speaks to how much Prince had to have trusted David Henry Hwang to deliver, considering how much of a controlling figure he was over his own music.
Right.
And that he just trusted David Henry Hwang and just had to have thought so highly of his abilities that he's just like, I'm not even going to bother with the lyrics on this because I trust this guy to deliver the true package.
Now, is this like, I mean, I don't know how much research any of us did for this, but like, are there any other examples of songs that he, didn't write the lyrics necessarily on, but he wrote the music?
I cannot think of any off the top of my head.
There's got to be some out there.
I mean, that concept in and of itself is just could very well be just another one of his little
Quirks?
Little quirks, little like just kind of throwing us a fast one, I guess.
Keeping us on our toes.
Keeping us on our toes, exactly. Pretty soon that sort of mythos, I guess, sort of gets a little stale, so he's got to change shit up.
Right.
Like have other people write his lyrics.
I mean,
for a song.
that kind of segues perfectly into the next track. This one was also a single on the album. It's track number 9 and is titled "Let It Go."
Now I gotta let it go. Let it go. Lay back and let the vibe just flow. I wanna just let it go. Let it go. Lay back and let my feelings show.
So this was the first single on the album. It fared a lot better than Space did. It reached number 31 on the Hot 100 charts and number 10 on the R&B charts. This track was actually a last-minute addition to the album after it had been initially accepted by Warner Brothers, only for Prince to recall it and retool it once again. That was the same time that he just removed a bunch of songs from the Gold Experience that time.
Yeah, I can totally tell that this is a more single-oriented track.
And, the whole album is just intended to be one large veiled fuck off to Warner Brothers in that it was basically an archival recordings album. But Let It Go, the newest recorded track on the album, I feel like it's the most transparent in its fuck offness. Basically telling the label that spent so many years trying to push Prince in a more radio-friendly direction and stifle some of his most ambitious projects, like Sign of the Times that began as a 3-LP album, or the Black Album, which Warner Brothers forced the release of after Prince folded from the shelves. It's basically just tell him to leave him alone because he doesn't need them anymore, and he's effectively putting the Prince moniker to bed. And
Headstrong!
No, Pat, not headstrong.
I'll take you on.
This is not where you belong.
Yeah, I am a little out of my depth, aren't
But you get what I'm saying, though, right? This feels like the most nakedly kind of like Prince going okay, I've done all this, but now it's over. I'm moving on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going on here in this record. I mean, on the one hand, considering that this is one of the last songs recorded for the album, it reminds me of a story I heard about when Trent Reznor was putting together With Teeth. He composed one of the singles for that record was The Hand That Feeds, and I think that song was sort of written just to sort of give the record label a single. Because With Teeth was this very dense record with all this other stuff going on here, but it needed something for radio, and so he just kind of banged out with The Hand That Feeds, and it's trying to say okay, here you go, here's your friggin' hit single. All right, let me do the rest of this record the way I want to, and I sort of get the feeling that Let It Go is a similar sort of story for Prince. That all right. You guys, you need a radio song. Okay, here you go. Here's your radio song. Again, it's one of those things that he can just knock out because he's just so fluent in that.
That's feasible.
Well, speaking of that, his record Parade, similar situation, has Kiss on it, which is one of his biggest fucking singles. But the rest of that album is very avant-garde, very sort of experimental and conceptual. And then all of a sudden, the smack dab middle of the album, there's just this fucking random Kiss single. I don't know.
I'm glad you brought that up because the one time I ever had to learn a Prince song, especially to learn a guitar part for a Prince song, I had to learn Kiss. And that was definitely an eye-opening lesson, and just kind of how talented he really was, because those guitar parts are just so cool on that song.
Yeah. Gotta love that wah part.
There's that, and then just kind of the way he phrased that the solo style, I rip that off all the time now.
Yeah.
When I'm trying.
Good shit.
So
I mean, Let It Go feels kind of cathartic to listen to, and it's certainly a great way to cap off an album like this. And I'd probably say it's one of the more introspective tracks that Prince has ever put out. I'm definitely marking this down as another for me.
Yeah, it's
absolutely. It's also one of the songs that he actually included some of the lyrics to it on the CD artwork. I'll hold it up for you guys here if you can see it.
It's backwards.
Yes, they're backwards.
Jesus.
And I'm trying to figure out the significance of that, and I have no idea what the
He's just
why
pulling
did
a
he put
fast
the
one
lyrics
on us again. A little.
I don't know, why did he put
rapscaling.
those? It's just like a verse. It's just like one of the verses where he says, all my life this heart's been under lock and key. I even have a hard time reading it because it's backwards.
I mean, just that one line is kind of enough that tells you all that you need to. It's quite clearly just him going fuck off at this point.
Heck off.
Yeah, I've had so much.
Really?
So much.
Now you're choosing to
kept
censor
inside
yourself,
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't talking about letting go of the cummies.
Pat? There it is.
You guys have. I'm really glad Todd's here because he's actually bringing some manner of intelligence to this conversation. Some semblance.
Oh God!
Of
If I'm the benchmark, we're all doomed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you are.
What does that make me? Larry?
Absolutely.
All right. I'll just have to live with that, I guess.
You're the cute one.
All right. Let it go. Sounds like we all like it.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I like it.
This is where my commute to work ends. It ends on Let It Go.
I mean, that's probably the place where you want to end it because the next track, the track that caps it all off, feels a little uncomfortable to listen to sometimes.
If you have kids, please put them to bed right now.
Here's track number 10, titled Orgasm. So obviously I picked a more fuzzy guitar laden area of the song, but for the most part, it's quiet. We got the beach. Prince is whispering sweet nothings into someone's ear, and someone's, they really like it.
They're having a fun tickle.
They're having a jolly romp.
They're having a special time.
Yeah, indeed.
So this track, Orgasm, was the final portion of Poem that wasn't cut up and interspersed throughout the rest of the song. Set to some noodly feedback recited from a previous track, Private Joy, and the sounds of Vanity 6 frontwoman Vanity in Ecstasy from an unreleased Vanity 6 track called Vibrator. Credited on the album as She Knows. This is true.
So, wait, you're saying that guitar clip was from...
Recorded back in 1983.
Yeah, Prince really liked to recycle stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Private Joy was off of fucking Controversy. That's...
Right.
Yeah, the early 80s.
Might have to go back and listen for that specific noodly feedback part.
Yeah. I don't think I will though. I'm not
so familiar with Private Joy, so I couldn't really point it out.
It's a good track.
I'm sure it is.
So this was part of there was sort of those introductory clips over a few of the songs. So this is all supposed to be part of one cohesive track at one
all
point.
Those different clips plus Orgasm were all were original in their original form. They were all just strung together as one long track titled Poem.
But it's basically just him having sex with this girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which kind of ties back into how he's not even being subtle with all the sex talk.
Yeah, I mean,
because he's the sex man.
The sexman. Yeah, I had to turn down the volume during this track, so so the neighbors wouldn't think I was just brazenly watching porn.
Most of the times that I listened to this, the only time that I listened to this in my own quarters was, when I was writing notes for this. Every other time I was at work.
I was just picturing like your boss or your girlfriend or something hearing the sound of this girl orgasming, and you're like, I'm doing this for work, for my show.
Is that how you think I sound, Pat?
Yes.
Like the Dunkaroos producer?
You're Alex Jones.
Dunkaroos! Dunkaroos!
Got Dunkaroos, baby.
You have to cleanse yourself in.
Ding 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 ding. Our matey.
You have to cleanse yourself in Lake Dunkaroo. Good God. We have fun. So that is cum.
We should have an ASMR podcast, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. People will pay
We're
pennies.
so good at it.
Yeah. Everybody wants to hear three dumpy white guys just slobbering into the microphone.
Making beach noises. And that was cum.
That was cum. It came, it cummed, it cumtered.
I'll just say about orgasm, it probably should have just ended with "Let It Go." That feels like a much better closer than that.
Yeah, I would say so.
Although if this was supposed to be Prince's giant middle finger to Warner Brothers, I mean, like, certainly having a song that has something as, especially at the time, for the 1994, having a song that is just blatantly a woman having an orgasm and have that actually be a legitimate track on a record is,
yeah, that's a good point.
Definitely something that would probably ruffle more than a few feathers over at his record label's headquarters. And if that was his gambit for either breaking out of a contract, I can see why he would include it to that end. I don't know.
So was there an 11-minute version at some point?
There undoubtedly was. So
please, Prince, we need you to tone down the sexy talk. Sorry, I didn't hear you. It sounded like you said, put more sexy talk in. No!
It's too sexy.
So let's get to our final thoughts. I mean, we kind of already teased this at the top of the program, but Patrick, do you think this is a worst album of all time?
No, and I'm right there with you. I don't even think it's Prince's worst album. There's definitely some clunky moments on here, but as a whole, I only listened to it a couple times. Even the first listen through, I was enjoying shit. I was latching on to shit. It didn't feel, some of the other albums we've reviewed on this podcast definitely felt like a chore. This was enriching. I felt like, and that's. I can't say that about, the Shags or Cyberpunk for that fucking matter. Jesus Christ.
Todd, same question. Do you consider this the worst album of all time?
No, absolutely not. I can see why very diehard Prince fans have a lot of negativity for this record, though. I can see why they would think that. I mean, there are definitely some things about this record that would, I think, rub a serious Princeophile the wrong way. For example, one thing I noticed about it is that none of the song titles have any of that Prince graphylect going on in them. There's none of the use of numbers to replace
they're all one word too.
What?
I think they're all one word too.
They're all one word. They sound like demo titles,
even Let It Go is just like all one word with no spaces.
Let it go. Yeah.
Let it go.
So, I can see people who, definitely expect certain things out of a Prince record. They would get this one and be kind of like, oh wait, no, all this stuff is missing that I need to have, for it to be a real legitimate Prince record, and it's just not there. Even if that, I think, is not really a part of the musicality of the record, I can still see that being important to somebody who thinks that like a Prince album, is supposed to be a certain thing, and certainly this record doesn't have a lot of that. Speaking as someone who loves Prince, I still think this record is a lot of fun. There's a lot of really good stuff on here. Even the stuff that is still just kind of like okay for me is probably still, a good world and a half better than what any sort of other pop artist would have done at the time, or maybe even in a contemporary sense too. I mean, these are still good songs, and these are still quality recordings. Prince is not going to slack on any of that. Especially for a record that's gonna bear his name.
Right. You get the impression that like with each song that it's a learning experience for him, and that also speaks to him viewing listening to genres of music as an opportunity to sort of hone his craft, his and a launching pad for his creativity, like you were saying. Yeah, and I think there's plenty of that happening on this record. I think there are definitely some good moments of experimentation.
I love that when we got to Loose, we were all kind of like, yeah, this song is awesome. And
yeah,
we were all in agreement on that. And yet all the reviews that came from that period of time that I read all said that Loose was one of the throwaway songs on the record. And I'm like, no, this song is so cool.
I don't get why people would single that out, because it sticks out so much compared to a lot of the other Prince material. I mean, the Rolling Stone review I mentioned earlier singled Loose out as, creatively bankrupt, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Well, I
don't think that at all.
No, I mean, I get it, because, I was in high school when this record came out, and this record also... if to put this, in a contemporaneous sense, like this record came out the same year that Kurt Cobain died. This record came out the same year that The Downward Spiral was released. So contextually speaking, there was a lot for Prince to pull from, and I think what a lot of people were expecting as far as like what R&B was supposed to be or what Prince was supposed to be, Loose as a standalone song was not that. And I think that a lot of the reviewers at the time, had a very comfortable category for Prince, even though Prince, and if you really look back over his back catalog, he routinely defied categorization. But still, he was supposed to be this great R&B singer and performer and a great pop artist. Loose was none of that. And so I think that when you come across that song, or if you were a music reviewer in 1994 coming across that song, you just be like, what is all this weird program drum crap that he's that he's doing?
Yeah,
in this song, I don't get it. We get it because here we are, 2018, and and especially here we are, three nerdy white dudes who listen to industrial music and techno and all this stuff, and we come across Loose and we're like, whoa, was he listening to that same Argyle Park record?
Yeah.
Maybe,
I mean, thinking about it now, especially Rolling Stone, who just are always in just that kind of habit of Bob Dylan, 5 stars.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Dylan hasn't done anything this year. 5 stars.
He said 5 stars.
Just to keep it quick, I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. I don't think this is the worst album of all time. I don't know if it has enough, really heavy-hitting, great moments to call it, a great album, but it's certainly a good album. And once again, it's nowhere close to one of the worst things Prince has put out. One of those albums in particular, 1999's Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic, I kind of hope for us to cover at some point.
Oof.
My parents listened to the shit out of that album, and I had to put up with it.
Man,
we are in such different generations.
Not good. Not a good one. But yeah, I mean, by this point, I think critics probably shouldn't have expected Prince to, have another Sign of the Times or Purple Rain. I don't think it was possible for him to have another, big, legendary album like that ever again. And after Come, all of his albums critically would just kind of, fluctuate in terms of, this is good, this is bad, this is that sort of stuff. And in terms of quality, but you know what? That was never the point. This was, at its root, this was an album for Prince to escape the clutches of Warner Brothers, and certainly pulled that off, I feel like.
Yeah, and got a few bangers out in the process. Good for him.
Oh, yeah.
So what are we doing? Favorite tracks now?
Oh, right. Yeah. Patrick, I have a feeling I already know the answer for all three of us. Patrick, what was your favorite track on the album?
Okay, so for the purpose of being different, I'm not going to go with Loose, even though I thought that was a really stellar track. I'm going to go with Dark. It's funny because when it first started, I thought it was going to be kind of a like hokey, read through of 70s neo soul, whatever. But then it ended up surprising me. I really, I've already touched upon it. Really like how it was written. Really, sort of, it's complex but also very simple. And just I love the arrangement. Great horn shit.
All right. What was your favorite track, Todd?
I'm gonna take a similar route. Definitely the shock of hearing a song like Loose, it definitely makes it a favorite for me. But if I'm excluding that one for a second, I would also go with Dark as being the standout track. The amount of just like that. Like Pat, you keep saying neo soul, and I just keep wanting to say. Actually, I hear a lot more of just that vintage '70s soul. Coming out,
sure.
That sort of like Sam Cooke, Lindy Williams.
I mean, neo soul, going by its definition, that didn't really start happening until the late '90s and really early aughts.
Yeah, Erykah Badu was like one of the first neo soul artists.
Erykah Badu.
This would be proto neo soul.
Music Soul Child, D'Angelo, that sort of stuff.
I just think that was Prince just sort of being like, I really want to do like one of those like dirty, like soul tunes from like late period Motown sort of stuff,
Sure.
and just sort of like get that vibe going, and he does it. It's just like Dark is just so good.
I'm not excluding shit. Loose is my favorite, and that's what I got to say about that. I mean, okay, if I had to pick something other than Loose, which we've already established is a fucking banger, I kind of liked Second Most. I kind of like Papa Second Most.
Yeah, no, that's a good track.
Just
sorry I ruined it with my problematic commentary.
What would you say is the worst track on the album, Pat, or your least favorite?
I mean, Orgasm, just because it's not even really a song and it just made me feel icky.
Besides Orgasm, I think we can all agree that that's not really... Yeah. That might not even be part of the album.
That one doesn't count. Yeah.
Probably Solo, just because I haven't really cracked the nut. Speaking of cum, I haven't really wrapped my head around that one yet. I'm definitely, unlike a lot of the other records that we've reviewed here, I'm actually looking forward to going back and listening to this again. And trying to figure out what he was fucking going through.
What was your least favorite, Todd?
Again, excluding track 10, I'm gonna go with Pheromone. Just because, not because it's a bad track as far as being like a dance banger. It's certainly that. I don't know, something about like just the whole talking about like body sweat all the time. Like I don't know, like just lyrically,
got old after a while.
Yeah, it didn't really work for me. I thought it was kind of a. I think Pat, I think you mentioned this earlier. It's kind of a reach for sexiness. Like trying to make the subject matter kind of try and make it be sexy and
also
overall,
try to be like deep about it at the same time, but it feels a bit forced.
I mean, just that whole word pheromone, it's syllabically, it's a mouthful. It's tough to turn that into like a hot lyric, I think, and certainly Prince did a good job of that. And like I said, I don't even dislike the song. I think it's a great jam. Like I said, it's definitely my least favorite on the record.
My least favorite is the title track, and I've already kind of explained why. It's just too long and doesn't really go too much. That's why I said the title track.
You got to walk to work. That's what you got to do.
You had to just fit one more in there, didn't you, Pat? Boy.
Cram it in the cum.
That song will put a spring in your step. I'll tell you that much. Especially early in the morning.
How about that section where there's like some slurping going on? There's like a slurp coda happening in that track.
No. Okay, all right. You know what really bugged me on that song was the line where he talks about like don't cough or sneeze.
Yeah.
And then like in the headphones you can hear it, like, you know, there's like a cough here and then a sneeze on in the other headphone, like
don't fart.
like really? like that's
That is a little on the nose. Yeah.
He's putting a lot of responsibility on this partner in that song, now that I think of it.
It's 11 minutes of that shit.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, boy, oh, boy. That's our episode. Thanks very much for being... Thank you so much for being on the program, Todd.
It's been
Thanks for having me,
a
guys.
roller coaster, all right.
We definitely got to have you back at some...
This was a lot of fun.
We definitely got to have you back at some point.
Yeah, thanks for
I would love
thanks
to.
for hopping on the Google Hangout.
Yeah, I want to come hang out in the smell cave next time.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll work it out.
Have you got anything that you want to plug?
Well, obviously, probably want to plug my band Downcity Armory. I've been hard at work on a full-length album with my guitarist and writing partner Rick. We've been putting in a lot of effort into our full-length, which has been a project we've been working on for quite a few years now. So it's finally starting to get to a point where we're starting to see that light at the end of the recording process, and so we hope people really enjoy it. I've also got a podcast on Podbean called My Unfortunate Brain, Unfortunately, or if you're looking for it, just do the acronym MUBU, mubu.podbean.com, and where I just basically talk about some of my favorite recordings and sort of what their cultural impact has been and how they've affected various aspects of American culture, everything from industrial music to the lost art of, you know, making mixtapes for fun and romantic entanglement. So
it's a cool show. I like it. Reminds me a bit of like Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, but about music and pop culture and shit.
That's because I'm all alone over here, and I haven't had guests, so it's just me talking about stuff that bugs me. So
yeah, exactly.
Or stuff
just
that I find
in
interesting.
The dark. Yelling into the void.
It's a fun listen if you're a bunch of fucking nerdlingers like us.
Yeah. It's definitely for the nerdlinger crowd.
You got anything to plug, Pat?
Yeah, I don't know. Stay tuned for more music from Smell. I'm hoping to get an album out by the end of this year. Catch the whiff. Take a sniff. Yeah, hoping to get an album out by the end of this year and actually finishing up another one hopefully by like spring of next year. And then
any big Old Man Yell at Cloud happenings coming up?
Not really. We're still going, fucking pupping along, putting out our episodes. Let's see. Nothing big coming up, as far as I know.
I don't really have any big surprise party or Sawtooth related news. On November 3rd, I will be participating in a 24-hour charity stream on previous guest Puck Vickery's Twitch channel, along with a bunch of other fine folks, for the charity Extra Life, which raises money to purchase video games, consoles, and handhelds for children's hospitals. There'll be more details on that when the date gets closer, but information can be found largely on Puck's channel at twitch.tv/ggpuck or her Twitter profile, twitter.com/ggpuck.
Oh yeah, speaking of Twitter, you can also follow me at @cat_SB for more of my comedy bronze. If you like hearing about cummies, that's going to be what you're going to want.
If you like hearing about cummies, Steely Dan, Garfield, what else? McDonald's,
and like a weird concoction of all four, just put through the old filter. Didn't you just have a remix album, or your? Didn't you just remix a track?
Oh yeah. I just put this out today. I guess that is some Sawtooth news. I just remixed a track by this analog synth guy from Lowell, friend of mine named Silas Price. You can check that out online. It's a remix of his track Culty. Go check it out at my Bandcamp page, djsawtooth.bandcamp.com. And I guess that's about it for plugs.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Good.
That about does it for this episode of Jukebox Zeros. Actually, wait, before I forget, Todd. Todd, how do you feel about us using your music as the backdrop for the fucking Billy Idol album during the essay?
I was actually very psyched about that. Actually, I think I might have set a record on the show because I think like you've used both Desk and Downcity Armory.
Oh right.
On your show here, so that means I've sung on two background tracks on.
Do you remember
Zeros.
what album we did the Desk one for?
That was
I think that was the one with Jim Schultz.
yeah, I think that might
Chris
have been
Cornell,
Chris Cornell. Yeah.
Was it Chris Cornell? No.
Yeah.
Scream.
Chris Cornell and Timbaland. Combination no one really wanted, but they did it anyway.
Speaking of vaults full of cum. Sure.
I actually like that Chris Cornell album. I think it's fun.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember
I'm in
you.
disagreement with you. We could always go round two over that record.
No, we don't need to do that. That about does it for this episode of Jukebox Zeros. Our theme song is Sunny Day by the band Froggy and the Friendship. You can check them out at froggyandthefriendship.bandcamp.com. If you got an album you'd like to suggest for us to review or just want to leave some feedback or comment, email us at jukeboxzerospodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/jukeboxzerospodcast or on Twitter at twitter.com/jukeboxzeros. You can find us, rate us, review us, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. And our archive main page is jukeboxzeros.podbean.com. God damn it. That about does it for this episode. That about does it for this episode of Jukebox Zeros. I'm Lee.
I'm Patrick.
And remember,
Big ol' cummies.
bye-bye.
These are my friends.